Hello everyone, and welcome to Capitol Watch for Friday, April 26th, our weekly look at legislative developments from Jefferson City. And joining us from our governmental relations offices in Jefferson City is our Associate Executive Director for Advocacy and our Chief Lobbyist, Mike Reed. And Mike, I guess the major developments this past week had to do with the tax cut bill that we're so worried about. And a lot happened this week. Tell us about that.
Oh, an awful lot happened with that bill this week. It passed the House. The House put several amendments on that, including an amendment that would give more money to public education through the foundation formula. They added part to the sales tax, and this sales tax would be dedicated specifically to public education. It would come in with about $200 to $250 million a year, which sounds very nice, and we appreciate the extra money, no question about that. However, the other parts of this bill are such that we believe that there will be a bigger hole. The $250 million will not make up for the $450 to $900 million of receipts that do not come into general revenue, the deficit in general revenue, and we think that this bill is not well thought out. The House tried to put in some blocks on it that says that you cannot implement the decreases in corporate taxes unless sales and revenue in Missouri goes up $100 million each year. But those $100 million gains are so ill-defined that it will make it very problematic on how this bill would operate. We think the bill is not good for the state of Missouri. It's not good for the students of the state of Missouri because we think there still will be a large hole in GR, and we encourage our members to contact their senators and tell them to vote against Senate Bill 26 in light of the fact that it just is not well thought out in this respect. I think there's still a big hole in it.
So, Mike, some legislators are saying, well, what is the problem with this bill because we are protecting education? But you're saying that the provision that does provide some additional revenue doesn't begin to offset the potential losses we might see. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we think. We appreciate the fact that they did put in some extra money for education. It is part of a sales tax, but we think that will be not enough to offset the other problems. The people that we work with, the budget analysts that we work with, have told us that the hole will still be there.
Mm-hmm. And so, Mike, the bill now has gone back to the Senate. We actually expected the Senate to take up the bill this past week, but that didn't happen. But so will the Senate take it up soon?
Yes, we expected the bill to be taken up by the Senate on Thursday. It's my understanding the Senate leadership stated that they needed more time to look at the bill and see the changes that the House put on the bill, and they will discuss it early next week, and I look for it to be voted on early next week.
And then should the Senate approve the House version, that bill is approved, isn't it, and then goes to the governor's desk?
That is correct. If the Senate picks up and votes and approves the House version, it goes to the governor for his signature or his veto.
Uh-huh. So at this point, Mike, should our members be contacting their state senators about this?
Yes, they should. They should be contacting their state senators and telling them to vote no on Senate Bill 26.
Mm-hmm. And then should the bill get to the governor's desk, Mike, and we anticipate possibly, we don't really know for sure, possibly a gubernatorial veto, but then at that point we would be looking at probably an effort to override that veto, I assume. Is that right?
That is correct. Depending upon when the bill gets to the governor's desk, the veto override may still come during this session. It just depends upon timing on all of this. But we would be pushing our members to tell their senators at that time to vote to support the governor in his veto. A lot of moving parts going on right now. But the first part is the most important part right now is to tell your senator to vote no on 26.
And we'll certainly be keeping you up to date on Senate Bill 26 and issuing critical issue alerts as needed as that bill is considered by the Missouri Senate. Mike, another issue this week was that's been percolating is Senate Bill 125, an education reform bill, and it's becoming loaded up with all kinds of provisions. Tell us about the bill and where it stands right now.
Yeah, Senate Bill 125 was originally passed in the Senate, and it deals with teacher tenure in the St. Louis City schools, and it was originally pushed by the St. Louis Board of Education. A lot was added onto the bill in the House, including provisions dealing with teacher evaluation as well as changes in the Kansas City and any unaccredited school district. They call it the Kansas City bill, but it's really for state takeover of any unaccredited school district. The changes in 26 are not acceptable. Where we worked with changing and working on changes in teachers' tenure and supported House Bill 631, this bill has taken parts of that bill and not the best parts of it, and it just has some real big problems dealing with the teacher evaluation. We are all in favor of teacher evaluation. We believe that teacher evaluation should be out there, and in fact, DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, has a pilot program on teacher evaluation right now. The bill that is out there, Senate Bill 125, is not the best method, and it takes away work from and takes away authority of the local school board. So we are against Senate Bill 125, and we encourage our members to tell their representatives to vote no on Senate Bill 125.
And the state budget, Mike, including funding for education for the next fiscal year beginning July 1st, where are we on that?
Yes, well, the budget passed the Senate last Monday. We are very happy there was more money for public education. The funding formula is still not fully funded. However, we did get some increase, and we're always happy for some increase. The increase is someplace between $65 and $66 million. The bills are now back in the House for being looked at, and they will be sent to conference this week. The Senate and the House conferees must finish their work and get the bills back to the respective chambers and passed by the May 10th, 2 weeks from now. So they have 2 weeks to go to finish the budget process, and it will take much of that time because there are some formidable differences on various budget bills out there. The House Bill 2 education bill does not have that many differences in it, but many of the others do.
Another issue, Mike, that's received a lot of attention all throughout the session has been the issue of school security. Bills ranging from commissioning officers in school districts to arming teachers and so forth. Where do we stand on that issue overall in the legislature right now?
Well, the Senate heard Representative Sheila Sloan's bill this week. Her bill would allow schools to establish their own police force and commission their own officers. Blue Springs already does that, and this bill would let schools, if they believe that this is the best for their own districts, to have their own, in essence, police force. They must work with all of the jurisdictions within the school district to make sure that everybody agrees to it. But that is one method, and that's one way that it seems to be moving through the General Assembly right now. Representative Rick Bratton has an amendment on several pieces of legislation which would have teachers, certain teachers and administrators in various buildings, to go through a post training. Post is a training that police officers, standardized training. It's a long time to go through. That's about 1,600 hours. And it would allow then post-certified and trained teachers to be in each school. And in essence, they would be a police officer in the school, and so they would be armed, and it is a different way to do it. Again, it's up to the school district to decide if they want to go through that. I'm not sure which one of these pieces of legislation will pass. All of these legislations and all of these pieces of legislation leave it up to the local authorities and the local school board to determine what's best for their district.
All right, Mike, and we are approaching the end of the legislative session in just a few weeks. What can we look forward to next week? I presume the Senate consideration of the tax cut obviously will be quite a big issue next week.
The Senate consideration of the tax cut will be a big issue. We will now be working on, the Senate will be working on House bills, the House will be working on Senate bills. There are just 3 weeks left, and so it's now crunch time. So we'll be watching a number of bills where people will say, well, you supported this bill in the past. Yes, we did, but now you will be receiving information from us that maybe the bill has changed. Something has happened. There's an amendment that went on which takes away our support, or maybe the amendment went on that gives us support. But I think we'll see an awful big push for several pieces of legislation. I think there'll be a big push to try to get Senate Bill 125 out of the House. And again, the tax bill, there's just a lot of work that's going to be going on in the next 3 weeks.
All right, Mike Reed, thanks a lot for joining us as always. And during these last 3 weeks of the legislative session, of course, we'll be keeping you up to date on the progress of various legislation through our Legislative Voice electronic newsletter, our daily blog on our website, and of course, through this program. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we hope you join us again next week for another edition of MSBA's Capitol Watch.